I got pooped on. Hey, welcome to another Rare Leaders conversation. I'm Tony Jalen, joined by the wonderful Daniil Jalen. And yes, we just got back from an 11-day trip to Cozumel where I literally, not just figuratively, got pooped on. More on that later in our conversation. So for those of you guys who are joining us live on the YouTube channel, welcome. Facebook group, Rare Leaders Facebook group, welcome. Twitter, hi Twitterverse. Elon Musk has put his takeover bid on hold until we prove all you guys are all real out there. But no, we're going to talk about really a handful of lessons we learned on this trip. And it was a trip that Danielle and I took solo, just us. There was no family, there was no kids, just her and I. It was our, I guess you could say, our test when we become empty nesters, huh?
Yep.
All right. So we just want to share some of those things with you. We went actually to Cozumel in the Caribbean. And if you've not been there, it's a quiet, very chill island, would you say?
Yep.
Yeah. So it's one of our favorite places to visit and everything like that. But literally, we were in the pool and I said this out loud. I go, I wonder if these seagulls ever fly over and go, you know what, let's just go ahead and drop a bomb on somebody. And was it what, 10 minutes later or something like 15 minutes later, Danielle?
I don't know. I was in the middle of a meditation and I got abruptly interrupted that somebody got pooped on.
Yeah, I got pooped on. Yeah, I was not happy at that moment. I did hear later that getting pooped on is a good luck sign, a prosperity. Someone said I should have went out and bought a lottery ticket. At that moment, I wasn't thinking it was good luck. But we're going to talk about, some of the lessons in particular of, you know, lesson that we learned in the jungle. We did go in the jungle for a moment. We'll tell you a little bit about that story. We're going to talk about silencing the mind, appreciation, um, and the person who doesn't ask for help will be working the hardest. So let's dive into this. So I think the first thing is the lesson of silencing the mind, Danielle. Let's talk about that. What's some things in terms of like we went literally had to go and disconnect from the world to a degree. Um, in terms of silencing the mind, did you learn? And when you say silencing the mind, that's not just listening, but actually silencing the mind.
I think the biggest part of that was how to slow down once getting there because it was our first time flying in there in 2.5 years. And so you still have the travel like what if all going on and then getting to the resort and just trying to find our rhythm for the days, like not worrying about the things that are going on back home, which I think occupied both our minds a lot because it was our first big trip that we didn't take Ezekiel on with us. And so just, making sure that everything's going okay at home, they're getting into their rhythm and their routine for the time that we're going to be gone. And I think it did take a couple days to finally like chill out and just be like, you know what, like it'll be fine. Like there's not a lot to worry about. Like what are we worrying about?
You bring up a good point because I mean we've been together now for going on 22 years together, and I know she doesn't look a day above 25. I know that everyone watching. Um, However, though, we sat. You pointed this out that it may have been the one of the first longest trips that we took that wasn't attached to work, wasn't attached to business, and we truly just it was just you and I. And I think one of the things is like, holy smokes, like this is different now. Like there's no work people around, there's no business people around, no kids, no family around. I think that if anyone's watching this, if you have kids, like to sit down and think like, when is the last time you took an actually a trip, just you and your significant other? And it made me think about when you said that, Danielle, that how much of our time is invested with family, with friends, with kids versus each other, you know? So, how were you able to actually like finally go, okay, I'm relaxed now, I can detach?
I think just I initially like really treated it as though we were at camp or Ezekiel was at camp where we didn't have communication. And yes, we did check in, but like literally, um, I did not call him. I know Tony called him a few different times in the evening, maybe every night. But I truly just tried to let him be independent of us and just figure things out. I mean, obviously, if he had any serious and real questions that he was able to ask us or anything, but and yes, he was being supervised. My mom was staying here. He was not home all alone to
Right.
fend for himself. So it's a different mindset to have to what do like it's just you and I. Like, what are we gonna do today? Like, I still try to get up at a semi decent time. I did text him good morning on his way to school because that's just something I do all the time. So, still kept some of that as part of my routine because that's my life. It's my lifestyle.
Well, I think too is like when we talk about silencing our minds, I think there's this thing of fear of missing out. Like, what are we gonna miss out on? And it's not me not like, oh my gosh, we're gonna miss out on it, but it's like it becomes ingrained in us that that's part of our life. Like you said, it's our lifestyle. Like for me it was, work. Of course we still had cell phone service in Mexico, even though we're on an island. And I have the group chats that I'm part of, and I did everything to go ahead and silence them, but I still felt sometimes like I had to just go ahead and read it. And I was fighting that, right? Because then something would be said, and my mind was going to go around that. And I didn't want to respond because I felt like if I responded to anything, it gave everyone else the right to talk back and respond back to me and engage with me. And one of the coolest things is that my team, my work team, yesterday all said to me, "We're so proud of you, Tony, for really disconnecting." It's like, "Oh," I go, "You guys really thought so?" They go, "Yeah." Like, you do a pretty good job not sending emails, but like you only texted us like once. I'm like, yeah, this is true because I really wanted to make that conscious decision. So I think one way is if you really want to silence your mind, you got to go and put those things in place and communicate to those people that I'm literally taking a vacation. Like my out of office email goes, I'm out of office. Text me or call me if it's a 911 emergency. So most people don't ever text because of it. Yeah, and people will respect it. I think that's one of the ways to silence your mind is to communicate to people, let them know that you will be gone, and it gives you. I think at least for me, it frees me of that. So I think that's a big deal. Um, the next part, another lesson was we were in the jungle,
Mhm.
and I'm not gonna lie to you guys. Danielle and I were in this car, and I might have actually sent my location finder to a couple people. Well, to the jungle, and what we did this Mayan ceremony, I could just say, and it's almost like a self-discovery ceremony. And you do there's a ceremony you do when you get in there in terms of stating intentions. Then you do this another thing which you walk around northeast, south, and west, and every spot has a symbol. Would you say, Danielle?
Yep,
Something simple.
one of the four elements.
One of the four elements. Yes, thank you. And you're supposed to sit in the spot that speaks to you. Um, and then we go into a Mayan steam lodge. We're in there for what, 90 minutes?
Oh, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's share a little bit about that because I had it took me a while to actually like, let go of control and just trust and let be what be. Share people with people you're experiencing next. That was a different experience. It was one of our random things we got to do.
Yeah, it was definitely not just the steam room to go sit in that Tony wanted to refresh his skin with. It was interesting hearing the elements that spoke to us and where we ended up in our spots, and really just seeing what our intentions that we've been working on, or at least for myself for this year, that I set out the new year to begin with, is like the unconditional love. Like, how do I offer that to you? And then also having the courage to do things and it really, like, having the unconditional love for yourself first, like taking care of yourself, and what does that look like to be able to offer your best self to those that are around you. So really just taking that and um to hear that, and then also then the courage to walk in love and not fear. And um we have the choice each and every day and every decision that we make to walk in love or to walk in fear. And so just choosing the courage to walk in love, even if we do have a fear of whatever's on the other side, still doing it. And so I thought that was kind of a cool little um, way to start out the
And I think it
ceremony.
was interesting in terms of perspective of to have unconditional love, truly unconditional love, it requires courage. I've not ever heard it in that way before. I don't know about you, but like that hit me differently. Did it hit you differently?
Oh yeah, because I think it's one of those things, like, we get so wrapped up in in life, like, we don't take the time to understand, like, what it truly means to love unconditionally and without conditions, like, to not be like, "Oh, if you do this, then like, to really not have conditions on the love that you have, the care, the, like, nurturing that you have to offer to other people."
Yeah, that's gonna be another talk, folks. I'm just writing that down right now. The concept of unconditional love. Um, that'll be another rare leader conversation here coming forward. So the next part about that, then. So for me, it was I set an element of
Your
remember
courage, and then courage was wind, fire.
in fire. Yeah, the willingness to do things, the willingness to be that example. That had that fire and zest. And it's crazy because the book that I read was Steve Jobs' biography. And he had a lot of fire in his
Mhm.
belly for sure. And then we went to the Steam Lodge. And if you guys can envision this, if you can think about an igloo, right? So think about the shape of an igloo, what it looks like. Well, this wasn't an igloo; it was a concrete igloo. And I remember, we get in there with the practitioner, we take our spots, in the middle of it, they have this, what would you call it? The place where they put the hot rocks?
The belly button.
The belly button of the earth, right? The belly button. That's how she described it. Um, and then if you sit next to the wall, it gets hotter, and they have this small little door, like an igloo, that you go through. And I remember when I first got in that, man, I don't know if it was because it's like when they were burning the sage or what it was, but I wanted to get the hell out of there. And I can't remember what she said in terms of when we first got on there about the environment changes.
Oh, it takes your mind 3 minutes to adjust to environmental or atmosphere changes.
Yeah. And I'm a guy who loves the steam room, guys.
Mhm.
Like, I am a steam room guy. I'll sit in steam rooms here all the time. But for some reason, I wanted to get out of there. And then we went through a 90 minute experience, I think is the best way to say that.
Yep, I think, we were walked through 5 different meditations, um, with a break in there, opening the the door back up and drinking some tea, and which was actually pretty cool. The tea tasted actually really good, lemongrass and chamomile. Is that what it was?
Yeah, yeah.
And then part of our ritual was based on relationships because we were there to celebrate our 20th year anniversary. So, um, also being taken back to like, what is that one thing that you fell in love with when you met your significant other, like 22 years ago? What was that one thing, and holding on to that again? Um, so then, like walking through that, so we made this tea, and like the chamomile and lemongrass, and then we put part roses in it as part of our contribution from our relationship into this tea, and it was so good. Like I was like, "Can I have the whole bottle? It's so yummy." I don't know what it was, but it literally did. Like the chamomile and lemongrass is supposed to reduce your body temperature from the inside, and as we were drinking that, I did notice significantly that my body cooled off, and so that was kind of interesting.
Yeah. And something about the roses, she said, in terms of the science was attached to it too.
There are the highest vibration of energy that gives love in the universe. So that is why the red rose is significant to relationships and to love.
Mm. It's not just a Hallmark thing. So we went through 5 different meditations, and it was, it was so ironic. Um, I don't know where I just saw this. It was literally just today. I'm gonna think about where I literally just saw this somewhere. I don't remember. But share with people who are watching and listening here today, what what were the like the initial meditations in terms of the childhood and et cetera, like that realm?
Just remembering that that child, I think we were supposed to imagine 3 to 7 years old, like remember that child and that excitement and energy and who we were and how we want that protection, and that child still lives within us, and just to always remember that you still have that child within you. And to be honest, I even though we went through all of them, I don't even I have no idea. I was just in there experiencing whatever was going on, and yes, it was hot, and listening to the lava rocks is what they use for our fire because it lets off or the steam lets off white smoke when it's burned, and then the steam that comes off those because they don't break down. So just to listen to those like sizzling and being lost in that sound as they're whispering to you in the dark. um so to be honest, like that, like I didn't even know we were going through like that. We'd gone through three of them before we opened the door. So
Right.
it's just a cool experience just to like be still and be in the moment and like allow your like yourself to be renewed and shed the things that have been holding you back, the like prejudices and like all these different things, like to be shed of that, and then to accept this newness that is being offered. And so I was kind of just where I was at in there.
That was cool. And then this is what we're gonna share with you guys right here is actually I probably shared this already with a handful of people. And Daniil talked about earlier, having that courage and to have that love and unconditional love. And I think it's not so much just the unconditional love for others, but unconditional love for ourselves. And that's sometimes easier said than done. And I think too, we sometimes don't have unconditional, at least myself, because I did this wrong or I made this mistake or whatnot. But I think also it's that forgiving yourself for things that you haven't done, that you've been wanting to do, or whatever it may be. Um, I think that was a pretty powerful exercise. What would you say to that?
You're referencing the thank you,
Yeah.
I forgive you, forgive me,
Mhm.
I love you, and goodbye.
Yeah.
And I think, yeah, that was definitely I've been doing it a lot with just different things, since we've gotten back. Just,
Oh,
like, using that as kind of a stepping stool in the sense of gratitude and being intentional and being unconditional about the things that we have.
yeah. So again, like this is a powerful thing, folks. And until you experience it, I don't know. Like you can hear this out from us right now. Um, but if we can actually walk through that, Danielle, just in more particularly and slower, so those who are watching can actually take a note on this. I think it'd be very powerful if you're open to doing that.
Sure.
Okay. So if you do it, you can do it by yourself, or you can do it with a group, right? And if you do it in a group, the goal is for everyone to support you, right?
Yep.
All right. So you lead.
You want me to do myself
Yeah,
or
yeah.
so, to start with, it was, "Thank you, Daniil," and then you guys would repeat that,
Thank you, Danielle.
and that, "I forgive you, Daniil."
I forgive you, Danielle.
"Forgive me, Daniil."
Forgive me, Danielle.
"I love you, Daniil."
I love you, Danielle.
"Thank you, Daniil."
Thank you, Danielle.
And that just allows whatever is holding you down, like whatever's bottled up with inside you, I think, just be released and to start again.
Yeah. As you guys can tell, it's definitely made an emotional connection for Danielle and myself in a lot of different ways. And we just don't realize sometimes the things that are anchors to us because we may have like muted it, suppressed it, and I feel that it allows you from really sharing your gifts and your brilliance when that. And so this is all going on the jungle. This is all going in the jungle, right, folks?
Yep.
Um, so we leave that, then we go jump into a cenote.
Yep.
Guys, I've traveled to Mexico numerous times, and I would never go into the cenote.
I don't really have any idea what a cenote is, so
It's a
I
sink, like I don't know. We can look it up. It's a sinkhole or something like the water in it, like underwater spring or something like that. Um,
which
we'll
had
look it up.
which connected to a bigger cenote somewhere else
Right,
that had alligators in it. However, the channel was too small for them to come through, so there was none where we were at.
right.
But you
Which was
still had to, like, trust and, like, go into the water and cleanse yourself. One of the other things that we did before we went in there was, cleanse our body with aloe
mm,
and renew our skin and all that, and growing up, I had severe allergic reactions to aloe vera plants. I even, like, verified with my mom after we got done, and she handed it to us, and, I was like, "You know what? I'm just going to experience it. Whatever happens, happens. If I go home with a rash tomorrow, then I go home with a rash tomorrow." But I actually put the aloe on my skin and nothing happened. So I was very excited for that. I don't know that I will try it anytime again soon, but I
right.
was like, you know what, I'm gonna go full on in this experience and it was what it was.
Yeah. And I think another lesson that came out of that was trust, but also that we're all connected, even not just the human beings, but we're connected to each other right here through this screen. We're connected to the seat that we're at. We're connected to um, the earth, the air, to actually intentionally think about that. And then we did it. We touched a tree.
Yeah.
That was interesting. That wind came through. That was interesting for that. So I think the lessons from the jungle was we had to let go,
Yep.
and we had to trust, and just really understanding what true having the courage to have unconditional love. Um, so that's another lesson we learned from the jungle. And I think also appreciation was another lesson that came out of it. What would you say in regards to appreciation came for you, Danielle,
Out of the jungle or just in general?
in general?
Just appreciation of like for us to be able to come back there after 2.5 years and how many people were so excited to see us. Like to be able to have that appreciation and to be able to show that appreciation back to others. And just to be present in the moment and to be able to experience it in general, like be able to take the trip and to be able to have family that was here to stay with Ezekiel and just the things that all fell into place for it all to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, and I would agree with you. I mean, it's been a while since we've been there, and I think it just reminded me that it's so important just to give someone a smile. Like you might go to a restaurant here today, the gas station today, um, go pay a bill somewhere. Just smiling at that person, letting them know that you appreciate them as a human being, because they definitely made us, at least me, feel that way. I mean, one guy came in on his day off
Mhm.
to take us to the airport. We were blown away with that. I'm like, "What do you mean you're coming for your day off? Like that is not computing in my head right now." And then we had, this is what I do sometimes, do some special things for Daniil, and I had to, like, the person who doesn't ask for help will probably work a lot harder. Will work the hardest. And I had this idea of what I wanted to do for our little celebration, and I was working pretty doggone hard for 4 or 5 days. But I'm like, I gotta start asking for more help here. Like, guys, I'm gonna let you guys know, it is hard to find a teddy bear in Cozumel. All right, it is hard if you don't ask for help, because I looked everywhere and I couldn't find one. So, but the team came through. Um, so we talked about self-love, forgiveness, silencing the mind, appreciation, and leveraging other people. Other lessons that we may have not talked about, Danielle. I mean, it was 11 days, folks. So, and we only have 30 minutes. Um, that you really gained from the trip.
The appreciation of being able to sleep in our bed.
Tell us more about that. Like our bed at the resort or our bed at home.
Our bed at home, like being able to come back home and have the bed at the resort wasn't terrible. It just obviously the air conditioner is continuously running, and so it can get pretty cold. And they like to tuck the blankets and the sheets very tightly at the bottom of the bed, and so it's hard to pull them up with one blanket and a sheet to stay warm. And then having you not know how to read the thermos,
Oh,
just turning it to heat.
it's turned to heat. I don't know what the heck how Celsius works. Why these other countries do metrics, I don't know. Um, but yeah, that was. But I think too, just appreciation of what we do have here at home, guys. We live in an amazing country. Um, we get to have $6 gasoline. You know, we we get to be on the internet like this. We get to have our homes, and I think sometimes it's easy to take that for granted. We could have great relationships, great people in our lives. Is everything perfect? No, the world is perfect until you add people to it. But just not forget how good we all got it. So, any other final thoughts, Danielle, before we sign off? And I think next week we're going to talk about unconditional love. That's my topic now.
Okay, then I guess we're talking about unconditional love.
Yeah. Any final words here as we close up?
Just appreciate the people that are around you. Like, go take time to say thank you and let them know that you love them and you're thankful for all that they do for you. Even throwing and I forgive you in there. Will you forgive me? And wrap that relationship in a bow.
No doubt.
Appreciate
All
it.
right. All right, folks. Hey, again, I'm Tony Jalen with the wonderful.
Danielle Jalen.
And if you found value into this, please do share it, comment it, like it. And if you're not part of the Private Rare Leaders Facebook group, please make sure to send us a request and join. We want to, our goal is to make an impact and inspire others to live a better life, professionally and personally. Until next time, onward and upwards.